Welcome to Channel Y. I'm Ramona Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Jadoo and I'm the group editor at Y Media.
How can you up your game?
How you can be the best version of you. What brings happiness to life? Ramona ji, what brings happiness to your life?
How do you create your best life? How do you create your best life?
What is important to you? Money or happiness?
Join us every Sunday at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. for Food for Thought.
Keep watching Channel Y.
Hello and welcome to Food for Thought. I am Ramona Singh, and today joining me is the group editor of Y Media, Jadoo. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Ramona ji, and hope our audience are doing great. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Food for Thought is a brand new show on Y Media, and every week we bring you great and fresh content for issues, matter of the heart, matter of the soul. We discussed on the secrets of a happy life, a healthy life, mental health, and of course this is part 2 of how to live your best life.
Of course, Ramona ji, I think we all must think and pause, because when we are running on our day-to-day business, but I think we must take a time where we pause and think, how are we going to live our best life?
Absolutely. So last week we talked about how to live your best life, and we went through, why clarity of mind is so important to figure out what is even your best life, right? What does that look like? Because what it's for me is not going to be for you. Yeah. So we talked about, why clarity of mind is so important, reasons that you may not have it if you're going through certain things. And we left off on how to create clarity of mind on a daily basis. And later on we'll go to, it's actually a great thing, it's called the Life Book. It's found on Mind Valley by John and Missy Butcher. They're a husband and wife couple. They created this entire program, which is 12 categories of your life. And it goes, and we'll go into detail, but it goes from like your health to spirituality to your love relationships to finances. So we'll do that today, and it'll be great if you actually get a pen and a paper and follow us through with it, because I did this last year, to be honest with you, last year, May or April. And if I look back to my life book that I created, and it's a great course, it's like 6 weeks, and it's great today we're just gonna give you a good taste for it. But now if you look back at it, I can bring it for you and you can see it, a lot of things that I wrote that I want to create or what I envision, it's actually happening now.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Because I think the best thing that you did was you took a pause and you started noting it down. Because this is what we discussed last week as well. Let's not live our lives as a checkbox that okay, we're born, our name is there, and then we go to school and then we come back. So I think you're right. Let's all do this exercise today, and I'm sure Ramona is going to take us through this one. Let's see, what do we want from life? Now, if I was you, I would want to know that, yes, what do I want from life? And exactly as you said, let's write it down.
Yeah.
Do I want happiness? Do I want money? Do I want career? Relationship? Anything? Health? And health has so many different aspects. Health is not just, as you mentioned, it's not just physical health, your mental health, and your intellectual health, your spiritual health. Health itself has so many different factors. So let's do this exercise today.
Yes, absolutely. So before we start, we're going to go through how to create clarity of thought daily, right? So the first item that we covered in last week's show was to create a solid daily routine. Why is that important? As soon as you figure out what your morning routine is, your evening routine, your night routine, and you know what you want to accomplish, you're less distracted of things that push and pull you in different directions. So routine is very important. There's actually a quote, and and it's not exact, but the quote that I read a long time ago was, inspiration will get you started on something, but it's routine that will keep it going.
I couldn't agree more, because I certainly have my routine for the entire month, and then I break it down to a weekly routine, and from a weekly routine I do break it down to a daily routine, because you're right, but because that will give you a clarity.
Absolutely. So going on to the second one, it says focus on your future vision, which is what we're going to do today, but it helps if you know, are able to write it down, which we'll also do today, and be able to revisit it. That way you're not, you know, being pulled into things that don't follow your vision. I think it's always the best thing to know what is your goal. That's what I've done. What's my goal? And I work backwards, right? And I say, okay, well, what do I need to do today to be a little bit closer to my goal? And therefore, when somebody gives, you know, opportunities come, right? Like your friend will call you and say, hey, you know, I have this great business or this great project you want to get involved with. And then you revisit and you say, does this project take me anywhere closer to my goal? Even if it's the most funnest thing, but when you realize, you're like, well, no, it actually doesn't align with what I want to accomplish, so therefore I'm going to have to pass. When I started doing that, things became so much easier, and I was less distracted by like really good ideas or really fun things to do that would take me in a different path.
Bingo. Ramana ji, this is the thing, you know, I want to highlight for anybody who wants to be successful in their lives, because there'll be hundreds of things with which you can get distracted. But the most important thing is stay the course and stay focused. But even before you do that, I think you need to analyze. You just know, you said again, goal. Even goal comes secondary. Setting up your goal is not the first thing you should be doing. First thing, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? What makes me happy? What do I want to do? Then even before what makes me happy, what do I want to do, goal will still not be there. Then the next thing should be, what is my vision? What is my vision for myself? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. You need to start anticipating certain things. That, okay, where will I be financially? Where will be my physical health, my mental health, my relationships, my friends, my career, all these things. And that is what exactly your vision is all about. If you have clarity of mind and you know this is my vision, then you start setting your goals after that. This is the fourth point, you start setting the goals. And then this fifth point, which is the key, you can do all this, anybody can do all these exercises. But the fifth point that you just mentioned, that is the key. You can easily get distracted by so many different things. And you might think, yes, these are the things that I want to do. But once you're fixated on your goal, on your vision, then stick to it.
Absolutely. You actually led us into the next one, which is define your priorities to avoid distractions. So know what those top priorities are. Yeah. I'll go into the next one, which is plan your day the night before, right? So you do a morning show. You do a 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. show Monday to Friday. You get on average, what, like 100 calls an hour? Yeah. So what are you doing to prepare for that? Are you doing it the night before, the morning of? What is your plan?
I think I do it on a very continuous basis.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the secret sauce, and I don't consider that way. I do it on a very continuous basis. As much as my shows are definitely, current news. So even if I cannot anticipate what's going to happen 1 month in politics, I cannot anticipate what's going to happen in economy. So when I'm doing a show on politics, economy, sports, these are very much current, up to the date news. Not only I have to present current up to the date news, but I also have to present them the analysis now. And this is what I do a day earlier and on the day of the show. If I am starting my show at 10, of course I do the reading 2, 3, 4 hours prior to the show. But one very important thing, I'm continuously preparing. If I have to wait for someone, all I need is a phone or an internet connection. So what I'm doing is I'm continuously reading on certain things. So that brings the perspective to the show, that brings depth to the show. So if I'm discussing financial affairs, hey, this is what American economy is, this is what the Canadian economy is, where is the European economy right now, what's the European Bank planning, what's the Bank of India planning, and how the Bank of Canada is behaving. So if I'm reading all these things and I'm doing a show on economy, so that brings depth, that brings substance to my show. So I'm continuously preparing whenever I have time.
When you have time, absolutely. Yeah. So, but it's also important that, just to have a clear idea, like when you wake up in the morning, you know what you're doing. Yes. If you have your plan the night before. Yes. Usually if you're trying to plan like right before you start something, it's so easy to get distracted, right? Like now in this day of like social media and everything and your phone ringing, and so it's so important to have your days, very sorted and know what you want to accomplish. Obviously you don't want to plan every hour of your day or every minute, but know like what are your top things that you must accomplish, and hopefully by the time you get back to your your pillow and back to your bed at the end of the night, you feel good. You feel good. So now the final thing is you got to take action, right? Clarity of mind. As soon as you realize what you want to do and how to accomplish it, taking action is actually the most important thing, because here's the thing. As much as you think you have clarity of mind, you don't realize that it's not even for you until you take action. So I'll give you an example. All my life, my parents, since I was young, they'd say, what do you want to be when you grow up? That thing changed. I was a teacher first, then I wanted to be a police officer. And it wasn't until I went to college for police foundations and I realized I love studying law. I don't want to practice it in the capacity of enforcement. And that was the action that I took to be able to realize that. If I never took action, I could have very clarity of mind about what I want to do, but because I didn't take action, I would just always assume that this is what I want to do, I just haven't taken action. So action is very important because it gives you further clarity, because I was able to tweak it.
I think you've explained it so well. You're in the flow today. I'm loving this show today. But you're right. What happens is, I will ask our viewers as well, what's stopping you to follow your dreams? What's stopping you to take your actions? And in certain cases, what happens is, our fears, our anxieties, our stresses, they stop us. And let's not get anything in our way. And another thing which I discussed the other day as well, what is one most important virtue of any human being? Okay, if I have to have success, hard work, yes, it's important. Talent, very important. Intelligence, another important thing. Dedication, focus, belief, hundreds of things come. But there's one thing which will help you enhance and really get the best potential out. And that one single thing is courage.
Yeah.
Because if Shah Rukh Khan went to Bollywood, it was his courage that, yes, I'm going to rule Bollywood today. Barack Obama thought that was his courage that brought him where he was. Nelson Mandela, after being jailed for so many years, close to 3 decades, but that courage, he got not only South Africa liberated, but he went on to become the president as well. And then he tried his best to unite. So courage is a very important virtue. Don't let anything stop you. Try.
Absolutely, absolutely. But we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we're going to go through this 12 categories. It's a course. It's called the Life Book. It was created by John and Missy Butcher. You can find it at mindvalley.com. It's a fabulous course. As you take it, there's classes and you get on calls with them and they'll answer questions. Today we're going to get a taste of it, but give you a general idea of why these things are so important. But we'll be back after the break for Food for Thought. Welcome to Channel Y. I'm Ramona Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Yudhvir Jaswal and I'm the group editor at Y Media.
How can you up your game?
How you can be the best version of you. What brings happiness to life? Ramona ji, what brings happiness to your life?
How do you create your best life? How do you create your best life?
What is important to you? Money or happiness?
Join us every Sunday at 10 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. for Food for Thought.
Keep watching Channel Y.
Hi, welcome back to Food for Thought. I'm Ramona Singh, and joining me is Yudhvir Jaswal, the group editor of Y Media. And today we're talking about how to live your best life. And we're going to do an exercise called the Life Book. It's an exercise I actually did last year. It's a program created by John and Missy Butcher, and you can find it on mindvalley.com. It's called the Life Book. It goes through 12 categories. And so we're going to begin. If you want to join us with this and grab a piece of paper and a pen and follow through, I think it's a great exercise. It helps with getting that clarity of thought, which is what we've been talking about until we got to the really good part. So all of that was leading up to this. So it's really important to envision, plan, and achieve your best life, right? How do you get that? So there's 4 things in each category, right? First category is health, because of course, as soon as you're alive, you need health to be able to do anything, and your quality of life really comes down to how healthy you are as a person, right? So that's very important. But there's 4 things you got to cover in each topic, in each category. One is the premise. What do I believe, right? So you need to know what you believe about health, right? Or about finance, about career. So right now we're focusing on health. So I'll explain what a premise is. So premise is, what do I believe? Your premise refers to the fundamental belief you have about everything in life. So a couple of things to do to find out what you believe, because some people don't even ask themselves what they believe, right? So how to find out what you believe? Ask yourself, what deep-rooted beliefs do I have that are shaping my life? Right? Second thing, are my beliefs empowering or are they holding me back, right? So some beliefs, like when it comes to health, could be so I'll share mine. Like, my premise is that I think a healthy life is a pain-free life. That is a belief I have, right, about health. If I have good health, I'm pain-free. Why? Because I experience inflammation, joint pain, all these different things that weigh me down, weigh my energy down. So I think health means being pain-free. That's the premise that I have, actually. What is the premise? What is the belief you have about health?
I think the most important thing about health is that the moment we're born, there is a set time that we have to leave this world. So to make the best possible use of that, and this is what I strongly believe, that I have to be my best version. And of course, in so many other things as well, whether it's spiritually, intellectually, but health as well. So the premise that I have is that it's only going to, you can only realize your best potential if you have the best health, you're in best shape. Absolutely.
So then followed after premise is your vision for health, right? So what is your vision? So as soon as you realize, what do I believe, which is very important to even ask yourself a question, hey, I believe that. That's not even true, because if you know this, I don't know if you know this, but your entire identity is formed from the moment you're born to the age of 7. So what you see at home about love, relationships, responsibilities, your character, it's all formed. So we have certain beliefs about things that were formed when we were a child because we saw our parents, our family members, what we saw on TV. That's what shaped our understanding of things. So until you start asking yourself, what do I believe about this thing? Sometimes you're not even aware. But as an adult, as an educated adult, an experienced adult, when you ask yourself, you're like, wait a minute, that's not true. That belief is not true, but you only realize it's not true when you become aware of it. So the second thing is, what is your vision, right? So this vision is, what do I want my life to look like ideally? What do I want to dream of becoming? What long-term goals do I want to accomplish? So your vision is your desire, right? So my vision is, I want to feel and look forever young.
Is that your vision?
That is my vision, right?
Wow.
So what is your vision for health?
Yeah, so my vision is, even at the age of 90, I should be able to play sports. That's my clear vision. Yes, looks do matter, but yes, as long as I can play sports, I'll be happy at the age of 80, 90 or 100.
Okay, good. And then the third thing is purpose, right? So what is your purpose behind your vision? Because you got to know the why, right? You can't just want something, because if you want something but you don't know the why, you're not even going to do it, right? So it's the why that drives you to your vision, right? So the why is...
What drives you? What is your why for this?
Well, my why is because I want to feel pain-free, and I want to look good, and I want to feel good. So why? That's really my purpose. And so in fact, so now what I do is I put oil in my hair, I do my stretches. There's so many things that I take that I drink like a 2-liter jug of water. I think you've seen it, and my goal is finish the 2 liters and get fill it back up for, to get to 4 liters. I do all these things because it's part of my vision and part of my premise. If I wasn't aware of it, maybe I think it's not that important. But now, because it's part of, I say, well, I want to age properly, so what do? I wear sunscreen. I make sure I don't use harsh chemicals anymore. So I've changed my entire routine to make sure I'm using natural, organic products. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't have this vision.
No, I clearly agree with you, you
Yeah.
know, because health is very important, not only at a personal level, but I'll give you other perspective as well. You know, as a business leader, you have to evolve. And when you have to evolve, not only you have to evolve intellectually, your vision has to be more clearer and clear, but health as well. Imagine I call myself as this group editor or CEO and I'm 300 pounds sitting over here and lecturing on health. No, doesn't gel well. The organization, go ahead.
And you lost weight.
I did.
And I had to add that because you said that.
Yeah.
How much weight did you lose? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I lost 54 pounds. I was 226 and I read an article that at my height and 226 pounds, even if all my indicators are fine, still I'm obese. That itself is a disease. So in 2013, I lost around 54 pounds in just 3 months, though that was too much. I won't recommend anybody else. But yes, you have to evolve. And you're right that if you don't evolve from the health perspective, you cannot really do well in personal life and in business.
Absolutely. So your purpose to go through it is what motivates me to achieve my vision, what empowers me to take action, what makes my vision so important for me and for others. So you need to know your why of why you even have that vision. So moving on, strategy, number 4. What is your strategy? How are you going to accomplish this, right? So how can I do this? So it goes to how can I transform my vision into reality so it's no longer a dream, but a reality, right? It's no longer just a goal, a vague goal. So strategy is what makes you put pen to paper and really come up with an action plan. And then, of course, strategy will help you follow through, right? Because unless you have strategy, you don't know where to start. You want to act, but you have no strategy. Like you want to open up a business, but you don't have a business plan. So what do you do when you wake up, right? You're ready to start things. Even if you if you pick up the phone and you want to make a sales call, if you don't have a strategy, what your sales strategy is, what your pricing is, what your distribution is, what your model is, what are you saying on this sales call, right? So even when you're ready to act, you can't do it unless you have a proper strategy. So how can I transform my vision into reality? What positive habits and attitudes can I adopt in my life? Because that is so important, right? You don't want to go into it with a negative attitude or, of course, the habits, like what we talked about, having that routine. Routine is what makes habits. And then it goes into what action steps can I implement on a regular basis, which is, of course, routine. So what did you do? Like, what was your strategy for losing 54 pounds?
I think the strategy was pretty much simple. First of all, it's a very common sense things. The diet issues that I clearly had, I fixed them. As a matter of fact, I started eating more because earlier I was eating less, but it was later in the day. So that was something which wasn't right. So I made sure I ate the right foods and eat it early during the day. And I think at that time, when I'm talking about 2013, intermittent fasting was not too much discussed, and I never knew that, to be honest. But then I think that really worked for me. And then I started, regular walk, and then of course I play regular sports now. And that was my why thing, as well as you were just mentioning, that why do I want to stay fit? That yes, I want to play sports because if you would ask me what made me happy at my childhood, the other day I was thinking that if there was one thing that really made me happy when I was a kid in my school or in my high school or even during the university, I could play all day and watch sports all day. So now I was thinking, as I would age, would I still be able to play? But I'm really happy that at this age, I'm still playing so well, and I want to be like this. Yeah.
And it's probably because your vision is you want to play till you're 90.
Yeah.
So that's why you're probably keeping light on even the meals you have, and you keep fairly healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one after your health is intellectual life. Why is that important? Because you need to feed your mind, right? Yes. It's so important. So again, you want to understand what your premise is, which is what are your fundamental beliefs about your intellectual life? Is it important to even have one, right? Then you want to go into what is your vision for it, and which is really, how do you make this into a reality? And your purpose, why is it important to you? And then, of course, what is your strategy? So do you have any that you can think of for your intellectual life?
Yeah, I think I try to read a lot. I'm sure you do that as well. And this is one thing which helps me in my core business as well. Because being in media, you have to have engaging conversations.
Yeah.
Now, think about I'm doing a radio show and you're delivering the news. In this age, everybody has their phones and everything. But with your intellectual strength, what are you bringing on the table? Perspective. That's point number one. Second, original thought process. It's very important. It's the key actually. If my intellectual strength is strong, that helps me bring a different perspective, that helps me bringing a vision. Okay, how do we take Canada any further? What is the vision for Canadian economy? What's the vision for Canadian infrastructure? Where are the gaps? You can only highlight all these things if you have great intellectual strength. Then you really kick off your original thought process as well.
Absolutely. So it sounds like for you, it's important to have original thought process, which is,
Yes.
I think, your premise. And then, of
Yes.
course, your vision is to be able to do that on a daily basis because you're giving your listeners and your viewers what they want to hear. They're coming to you to not only hear the news, but they want to hear what are your thought process, and they want to call you and discuss with you, right? So you need to, and then of course, I guess your purpose is that you want to do a good job, and then your strategy is your reading. Like you start early on before your show, right? Like a few hours before, and you're just monitoring the world of what's happened.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, that's still the news part.
Yeah.
But today we say Punjab is in crisis. South Asia has many challenges. These are all generic words. But if a caller picks up a phone and they calls me, hey Yudhvir, we've been listening to you for the last 20 years, you've talked about the news analysis. But if I ask you, if you were the Chief Minister of Punjab, what would you do to bring Punjab out of the crisis? And here comes my original thought process, my vision that yes, this is what I believe. And if somebody calls you, Ramona ji, we're listening to your show, and how do you make sure Canada gets at the right place at the world level? You should know what is G7, where does Canada stand, what has been historically the importance of Canada, what is NATO, where does Ukraine stand. So if you're not aware of all these things, and then another part, what is your vision? That's the key. What is your strategy? So Ramona ji, what about your intellectual level?
I have to say that this show, Food for Thought, is a direct byproduct of how important my intellectual life is.
Right.
Because for me, it's very important that every week, every 2 weeks, I'm like reading something new. I'm listening either an audiobook. It's very important for me. Otherwise, I realize like I get like a little bit bored, and if things feel a little more dull, and I get a little more agitated, things feel repetitive. So I know that you're way overdue and you need to consistently feed, your mind just on any topics. And of course, topics of interest will help you. Like when I'm interested in something, I go into very deep dive research, right? So for me, it's part of staying young as well, because if my mind isn't actively working and it's not feeding, then I'm going to feel older than what I believe. And I actually feel younger than my age, is because I'm constantly thinking and playing with policy and concepts and ideas. And so I have to say this show is actually a direct, and every other show has been a direct byproduct of how important I prioritize intellectual life.
Yeah, and I think that's an amazing point, and I've seen how you basically conceptualize this show, Food for Thought, and this is precisely the reason that you've been thinking a lot about it.
Absolutely, thank you. And so the third one is your emotional life. Why is it so important to know what your emotions are? How do you feel about things, right? So again, you want to go through the process. For each of these categories, you want to be able to write down, what is my premise? What do I believe about having a stable emotional life, or being in touch with what is my emotions. For me, it's the premise of what are my fundamental beliefs. I believe that if so it's not what happens in life, it's how I perceive it. And how I deal with it is how I perceive it. That really, it comes down to how do I feel about things that I'm seeing happening around me? How do I feel about what someone's saying to me? So that is really my emotions. And if I don't have a good understanding of my emotions, then I could really misunderstand what's happening around me, right? I could misjudge a situation. So for me, the emotions are so important. I think I actually get a good handle of my emotions because of my intellectual, right? Because I read about a lot of self-help books. I've always been into it, into psychology and self-help. So for me, it's helped me be able to explain a lot of the emotions I feel, because sometimes I'll feel something, and so I'll go through the exercise. Okay, what are you feeling? why do you think you're feeling this way? Where do you think it's stemming from? So as if like you'd go into a therapy session, I prompt myself and ask myself these questions, and it helps me understand what emotion I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it and how important it is, how much longer do I need to sit with it so I don't ignore it. Because if you ignore your emotions, what they say, like if you repress it, it comes back up at some point, right? Somebody or something will trigger it and it'll come right back up. So it's very important to identify what it is and sit with it, respect it, right? Because before, when I used to like not respect my emotions, like, oh no, you're just being silly and just change thought or just keep myself busy, that thing would come right back up, maybe in 2 days, maybe in 2 years. You never know, right? You don't want to be a volcano, right? You don't want to be a ticking time bomb. So it's very important to understand what your emotions are. And for me, the belief is that I think it's critical to how I respond to life, which means my entire quality of life is determined by my emotions. How do I perceive it, and what does it feel like to me? And so that's very important. And so the vision is obviously for me is to make sure that I'm living a emotionally balanced life, right? So I understand there's highs and lows. So, there's never going to be, I'm never going to have a chart that goes like this, right? Or like this. It's going to be like this throughout the month, throughout the year. And understanding that certain events will give me peaks. And so that's by staying emotionally, neutral and okay and happy above all, because you have health. You have a sound mind, you have so many other things to be happy for, which I've only listed the things that we covered so far, but there's so much more. And so that's it. And strategy is what I said I do. Like I if I feel something that's out of the ordinary, I'll ask myself these questions until I understand what it is.
Ramanaji, I think you explained it so nicely. I'm really enjoying the discussion, but I'll just throw a couple of questions here for our audience and for yourself as well. And I think if we try to address these questions, and this is how I try to address my emotions, the emotional side and my vision and my thought process and the whys and the visions and the strategies for my emotions came out. First things first, what is your essence? We must realize what is our essence. So if somebody asks me, you do just, well, what is your essence? Mm-hmm. Okay, what is my essence? When I started addressing this question initially, what is my essence? What is my strength? What is my secret sauce? What's my superpower? So a few years ago, I thought, okay, my essence, maybe I think I read a lot and I can deliver some very good content. Okay, that was one thing. But is it the only thing? Does that represent what Yudhvir is? No. I'm very good at sports. Wow, I've been loving sports all my life. That is another aspect. Okay, but after, okay, I'm very hardworking. Okay, you could be hardworking, all these things. But then I realized what is my essence that has helped me build great relationships personally, that has helped me evolve as a person. And this thing has really helped me build the business as well. And I was so surprised to know that this is my essence. I think my essence is compassion. And when I realized compassion is usually taken as your vulnerability. Compassion is taken as your weakness, especially in today's day and age with business. Compassion is one thing which is usually considered, a weakness, not a strength. But then I realized, no, this is my superpower, compassion. This is my strength. This is how I've been able to build such strong relationships personally and in business as well. So I think we all must ask ourselves that what is our strongest feeling, what is our strongest emotion, and I think I've discovered that quite a few years ago. Then I ruled out, as much as I'm good at sports, intellectual or hardworking, all these things, but I think compassion is my number one strength.
And it's great because now what you're saying is you lean into it. If it's your natural strength, then you're gonna not say, okay, I gotta be different, I gotta be opposite, or I got to be, no, you're saying this is what I am, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to live my life leaning into it, making decisions through this, because it's your strength.
And you're right, thank you. And that's where you draw your strength from, because I strongly believe that, yes, that's where I draw my strength for. This emotion brings out the best in me at a personal level and at the business level as well.
Yeah, and it's so important to take all of this into what your career, and we'll get to career, but sometimes like naturally, like you'll have somebody who's in high school and they're such an artist, but their parents say, no, you have to be a lawyer, right? Or you have to be something that is so not natural to them. And so it's so important to figure out what that is, because essentially you're going to be good at it, right? Like success is going to be something because you're going to be happy with what you're doing, and of course you're going to be like really great at it because you're leaning into your natural gifts and talents.
Yeah, and as you were just mentioning, one of another emotional aspect is that this is what I strongly believe in this. Ask yourself, do you have someone? Do you have someone? That's a very important question. If you have someone and you believe someone is backing you up, whether your father, mother, brother, sister relationship, wow, that is the best emotional feeling that you can have. And I'm not saying it's a number which matters. I think it's the strength which matters. So ask yourself, do you have someone?
Yes, absolutely. So going on to the next one, we're short on time, so we want to get through this as much as possible. So I'll actually speed through some of this stuff, but knowing that if you take time and going through all these things on your own time, or even better, take the course. It's called Life Book. It's on Mind Valley. It's created by John and Missy Butcher. They're a husband-wife couple. Fantastic. So next one is your character, right? So again, premise, what do you believe about like your character? Why is it important? What is your vision for your character? And of course, what is the purpose behind your vision? And what is the strategy? Because whether you realize it or not, but every decision you make, every reaction you give, it actually shapes your character. So if your character, you want to be somebody who's honest and somebody who's responsible, then it's like all those actions of showing up on time or telling the truth or doing your due diligence, or all those things actually contribute to that character that you want. Of course, those are strategies, but understanding the importance of it, because how you see yourself is so important.
Absolutely. I think character is not what the people see you in public. Character is what you know about yourself, and especially in the dark. That's what character is. So, and you're right, every action does build your character. Because whether it's on a personal basis, I think many people say these things, vision is important, hard work is important, but I think when I say what are the three main qualities of a leader, number one thing I always say, that's honesty. Honesty comes first. You could be a great visionary, you could be very hardworking, you could be courageous as well. But if you're not honest, you're not good for public. So number one thing for me is honesty. Ethics are very important at a personal level and at a business level as well. And today at this time, I take pride in this. Media, I think we all tend to forget how objective we have to be, especially in this day and age. So I definitely made at least one point sure. There are so many other things. I always say, yes, I have challenges in business and at personal level, and I'm working on all of them. But this is one thing I definitely take pride in, that yes, we have been a very objective media. So I think, and that flows from top to bottom. That flows from your personal character, and that's what's going to reflect in business as well. If as a leader of any business, or even if you are leading a family of 2, 4, 5, your character is very important, because that's what you're going to pass on to the coming generations. That's what you're going to pass on to your colleagues. So a strong character is very important.
Absolutely. What's amazing about the character, I said, growing up, my parents would always say, what do you want to be when you grow up? It wasn't until I was an adult and I heard a speech and the person said, and I can't recall who it was, but they said, so don't ask somebody, what do you want to be when you grow up? Ask them, what kind of person do you want to be when you grow up? Because then you start thinking about the character that you want to have. What do you want to be known as? How do you want to see yourself in the mirror? So that's also so important. So after I heard that, I said, so important. You got to ask yourself, what do I want to be? Like, what kind of person do I want to be? Not just what do I want to do for my career that gives me an income, for example.
And another aspect that I want to add when it comes to character, especially in our South Asian community. Oh, I don't drink. I have a very good character. That's fine. That's for your personal reasons. It could be for your health or whatever reason. It's good for you. But that's not exactly the only litmus test for a character. I don't drink, I don't eat meat. Great, good for you, right? But is that the only criteria for a character? The answer is no. Oh, this guy is moving around, he has 5 girlfriends. That's good for him. I don't judge anybody if somebody has 5 girlfriends, if a girl has 6 boyfriends. Okay, good for her. That's not exactly her character. Character means what you are contributing towards the society. I don't drink, I don't eat meat, okay, I don't have any girlfriend, I don't have any boyfriend, but here I am being dishonest
That's actually a very good point that you say that. It's actually reminds me when I was younger, like when you were thinking like I'm talking about like high school, right? And you want to have a really good career and this and that. And I remember listening to a pastor on TV, and she had said, her name is Joyce Meyer, and she said, if you want responsibility, right? If you want God to bless you with responsibilities and all those things, then at least when you go grocery shopping, put the shopping cart away. She goes, because when you leave it out and you don't take the extra 1 minute, 30 seconds, however far it is, to go put the shopping cart away, you leave it out, it's going to hit someone's car, right? It's going to get in the way of something. It's going to damage somebody. So if you cannot take the responsibility to, take your shopping cart and put it back to where it belongs in that, in that little house for shopping carts, I guess, then how are you going to ask for bigger responsibility if you can't do small ones? So I remember after that, every time I'd have a shopping cart, I'd be like, I got to put this away, because to me that was even the smallest things. It builds your character, right? If you can't do that, then what do you want a bigger responsibility for?
Exactly. That was my point too. I mean, sometimes we consider all these things as a good character or bad character, but I doubt these are any litmus test. You couldn't. I mean, I'll just give you a quick example. I mean, you could be the biggest con artist or a fraud, or you could be taking bribes as a politician, and here you are. Oh, I will visit a religious place every morning. I don't drink. I don't eat meat. Okay, I have no girlfriend. I haven't even got married. I'm a bachelor. Fine, these all things are great. But here you are. You're not serving the community. You don't have a good character, in my sense.
So we've covered character, and we have a longer list to go through. So what we'll do is we'll do a part 3 of this in terms of how to live your best life. So join us next Sunday for Food for Thought. It airs at 10 a.m., 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. And joining me, of course, is the group editor of Y Media, Yudhvir Jaswal.
Thank you, Monaji. It was a pleasure discussing all these things with you and leaving you with food for thought. We will be joining you next week as well. But ask yourself this question: do you have someone in life, and what makes you happy?
And that's all the time we have for today. Join us next week for part 3 of how to live your best life. We have so many more different categories to go through, such as your spiritual life, your love life, your career, your finances, and so much more. So join us next week for Food for Thought. It airs on Sundays at 10 a.m., 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Joining me is Yudhvir Jaswal, the group editor of Y Media.